Welcome to Close the Door and Come Here, Song of Ice and Fire podcast with heavy leanings towards our two favorite characters, Jaime and Brienne. Hello, everyone. This is our 600th episode. We asked and you all voted, and the winner was for us to do let me see if I got this right, a reread of Jaime VI from A Storm of Swords. It looks like we've done it at least 2 other times. So I am Kama, and you can find me at Kama Splice on Blue Sky Social. And today I'm joined by Chicky.
Hey, I am Chicky, and I am Chicky on Blue Sky.
And Clotho.
Hi, I'm Clotho. You can find me at Clotho Spindle on Blue Sky Social.
So if this is your 3rd time with us for this chapter, well, you know the drill. If you are new to this podcast, we do spoil everything. Books, potentially show. There should be a trigger warning, I think, for rape and violence for this one. Okay.
Okay, can I before you begin, Kama, I want to say I have been on all 3 of these now.
That's awesome.
I went back and checked on the other ones, and I was on the other 2 as well. The first one.
Okay, I couldn't find that one.
2013. It was our 17th episode. It was me and YD and Eon, and then Glam had apparently stepped in for someone last minute, so Glam was on it. And then
wasn't there another guest?
I think Cora. I want to say it was like Cora or somebody like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Somebody with a British accent was on it. Yeah. So it was.
So that makes me feel a little better because I missed both of them then. So I wasn't on either one. So now I feel like I'm not going to repeat myself because I didn't go back and listen to them.
Well, I was
going to say, it's good you're here.
I started to listen and then I was like, no, I'm going to be fresh for it. But like, I definitely wasn't around for 17. But I think it's 295 was the second time we did this chapter, and I'm on there, and I legit have no idea what I said then. So I am going to listen after, and that'll be a wild ride.
I hope you contradict yourself. I'll love it.
I probably will. I do all the time.
Me too.
All right. So I have to say, it is really nice to be back with the Jaime and Brienne chapter after having been stuck in like ASoS and with like the Iron Islands and all this stuff. It's great to be back with our 2 favorite characters who make an appearance in both here.
Yes.
So I feel weird doing a summary because this is like one of the canonical like seminal Jaime Brienne chapters, but we're going to do a summary because that's what we do. So Jaime is at Harrenhal. He's mostly healed, although he's got some sort of fever that just hasn't gone away entirely. And Roose is sending him off with Steelshanks Walton, who's going to head the voyage back to King's Landing there at the trip. And as well as our favorite Dr. Mengele, Qyburn.
Oh, God.
He's got, we'll get into that in a bit. He's got Jaime outfitted in the full kit, which is all kind of like a total joke because at least Jaime thinks so because he doesn't have a hand. He's picked up a random shield. He's picked one from a house that everyone's dead, so no one's going to be bothered by the Kingslayer holding another house's arms. And before they leave, they're sort of saying their goodbyes, and Jaime famously asks Roose to give his regards to Robb. And we know how that's going to go. And they're taking the long route. They're not on the throughway, so to speak. They're taking the back roads because Steelshanks Walton is afraid of attracting trouble if they take the King's Road.
Which he's probably smart to do that. That's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think he's 100% right.
I love this. I love the way that Jaime is leaving because I think he even has the thought that he's no one as he's leaving because he's like they give him like some arms and armor, but like obviously the shield is not his own. He's got this Lothston's shield and he's wearing literally a brown surcoat. So he's just been anonymized basically as he's leaving Harrenhal. And it's really a good fitting spot for the reminiscing that he's about to do, that he is basically leaving as just an anonymous, almost a hedge knight, at least probably to look at him. I mean, other than, his incredibly handsome face that we've established he has.
Well, and certainly this is like literally a trip down memory lane in some respects, because he remembers the route they're taking. This is the route he'd taken when he'd gone to the infamous, well, not infamous, but the famous tourney at Harrenhal. He remembers when Aerys.
I think it is infamous. It is infamous.
Yeah, you're right. And he remembers Aerys making him a knight for the Kingsguard, and then learning 3 hours later, that basically Aerys did this to piss off his father. It's sort of you can't even have a full day there. And then let's just get into Qyburn and his grossness and get it out of the way. He evidently fancies himself being a full service maester, because not only did he thoughtfully send Pia to Jaime the night before, because that's what you do. God, I hate men sometimes. He also, it turns out, performs gynecological exams on the women that Vargo has sex with. And also did this for Pia as well, I guess to make sure that, she didn't have syphilis or whatever. And then he drops it that he did this for Brienne, that Brienne is intact, so to speak. And Jaime, he says, Jaime, I think, thinks it has to do with the ransom. And then he's like, oh no, the ransom, they find out whatever Selwyn could afford for her was not what they were expecting. So, the implication is that, she could be raped. And it's kind of...
No, it could be. Clearly it is that Vargo intends to rape her. Well, and I think it was Guile who correctly pointed out, I mean, really what Qyburn has done here is sexual assault. To Brienne and to Pia.
And God knows all the other women who, yes. It's disgusting. And I gotta say, Jaime is having all these thoughts about this, and it is disturbing until he kind of jokes about it, and that Brienne might kill Vargo if he tried anything, etc. But it's bothering him. You can tell, even though he's thinking and saying some kind of gross things. It's the way he is. It's like he can't stop thinking about her.
Yeah, well, he's kind of bargaining. He's saying, well, she could survive this, but it's the same thing that he thought in Jaime 4 when the Bloody Mummers were coming to rape her. He's like, well, if she's going to get herself killed, if she doesn't just, lay back and accept it or whatever. And he's thinking, why do I care? And then the next thing he's calling out sapphires. And it's kind of the same thing here where he's like, well, she can survive this. Why do I care? But then the next thing that he's saying is that Qyburn is really annoying him, and he rides away from Qyburn. And it's like, okay, well, why is he annoying you, Jaime? Because you don't like what you're hearing, obviously.
Yes.
This whole section is very much like where Jaime is thinking back over the first time that he left Harrenhal after he becomes a member of the Kingsguard. He doesn't. He's instantly thrown into regret when he joins the Kingsguard. He talks about how he basically only had a few hours to even enjoy it before he regrets it and realizes he can't get out. It can't be undone. He's, Kingsguard served for life. He's stuck. And you get that feeling here again where he's kind of living in this world of regret. And of course, he's Jaime, so he can't actually have a conscious thought about what the regret is. We'll get there. But, there's very much just this theme of, regretting paths not taken. That kind of concept is just completely overwhelms the beginning of this chapter. Obviously there's a reason why, but it's worth noting.
And we do learn, Pia was sent to him, and, he was attracted to her. And she evidently didn't, I never quite realized how old these characters are, but she remembers and the tourney and remembers him, and all the guys she's had to sleep with, she tries to imagine he's the guy, which is kind of
it's so sad.
Sad.
Everything is so sad because in her mind, it's like this is probably the nicest person I'll ever get a chance to sleep with, and and it sounds like Qyburn's probably something. It's horrible. Like, just to think about
he
all the
definitely has.
horrendous people who've raped her. It's horrible.
Yeah,
And
she's
then
had,
it's horrible.
Qyburn, gross.
Ugh.
Fargo, gross.
Horrendous.
All the other bloody mummers,
Mouth
gross.
breathers, gross.
And clearly people before they came along, and all of the soldiers, I'm sure, that were there, with Tywin and the Lannisters. I mean, I'm sure it's just been nonstop.
Well, and she's been punished for sleeping with the Lannisters, and it's not like she had a choice there.
Yeah,
it's like
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, the worst thing hasn't even happened to her yet, because we know what the mountain will do to her after this.
Yeah.
Poor Pia. The worst thing to me, though, about this section of the chapter is here Pia finally gets her shot at Jaime, and she's like, "Oh, finally, the guy I actually want to sleep with." And then he's like, "No."
I
No,
know, he's too decent. Oh.
But it's like, I think I'm gonna go a little out of order, but like he has all these moments. Like he remembers that later on in the chapter they're passing some inn where he remembers like the barmaid, like being all kind of agog that he was there. I mean, it's just kind of like he's like you said, he's been sort of anonymized, but yeah, he's remembering his glory days and what he's come to, and it's kind of amazing. There's a bunch of stuff. We learned a little bit about the Tarbecks. There's references to that, and then there's a couple big moments in this chapter, and the next one is the dream, right? So he doesn't want to stay at this particular inn because he does remember this young woman who, like, they all made a big deal out of him, wouldn't take his money, etc. So they camp. His fever is rearing, again. I'm assuming he's just fighting off massive amounts of infection. And he goes to sleep leaning up against like what a tree stump that later on we will learn is white, like a weirwood. And in his dream, he's naked and he has his hand, which is amazing. And his dream self is like, oh, this idea that I lost it, that was the dream, and he's surrounded by these cloaked figures with spears. They won't talk to him, but they force him to move with the spears that they're wielding. And they're pushing him down a set of stairs. He keeps saying, I have to be going up. And they keep going down. And when the stairs end, one of the figures with the spear pushes him into what he describes as the abyss. It's not a long fall, and he gets there, and he sees Tywin and Cersei. And he asks Cersei why Tywin has brought them there.
And Joffrey. Gotta mention Joffrey.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's interesting. He refers to Cersei as sister, and she refers to him, she says, this is your place, brother. This is your darkness. And I kind of wonder, like, if he's like, his subconscious is like, you shouldn't really be sleeping with your sister. Yeah, I don't know. It's me in there. But they leave him, and he's pleading with them not to leave. And Tywin says, I gave you a sword. So he picks up the sword. And this is when he sees Brienne, who's bound in chains, also incidentally naked.
Okay, let me stop you there, because there's a lot of the discussion about the dream. Obviously, Jaime is asleep on a weirwood stump. Is pretty. There's no reason for him to mention what it looks like otherwise. Jaime's asleep on a weirwood stump, and there's a lot of discussion about the prophecy of this dream. And there are certainly some things that are prophetic in this dream, including like Tywin saying, I gave you a sword, something that has not happened yet, but will happen.
Right.
And Brienne asking for a sword. But the other thing that is very significant here is that Cersei, Tywin, and Joffrey, all three stand in front of Jaime with all of the Lannisters who have died before.
Yeah.
And Jaime doesn't see any other Lannisters that he knows who died. I mean, he definitely knows his uncles who are dead. He definitely knows, like he just had his Uncle Stafford. He just found out is dead. His mother is dead. He doesn't see any of them. He sees these three here. And as we know, Joffrey is, I think, if he isn't dead already in the book, he's going to be dead in a minute.
And Tywin will be dead at the end of the book.
Tywin will be dead at the end of the book, exactly. So it feels like there's something very significant here about Cersei holding this torch and turning away and leaving with Tywin and Joffrey. Because we don't see Tommen and Myrcella here. Like, it's just very obvious who is here and who isn't here. It's very clear that there's some prophecy going on here. And I pretty firmly believe, and of course this comes up all the time in Jaime Brienne fandom after the way that Game of Thrones ended, this to me is pretty apparent that George at least intends for Cersei to die before Jaime. Jaime will outlive her. That is what this means. Cersei leaves with Tywin and Joffrey, who are dead. So anyway, just want to note that. It comes up all the time. We'll get questions if I don't. So yes, that is what I think is happening there.
Okay. So he sees Brienne bound in chains. She's also naked, like he is naked, which that can't tell me that doesn't mean something. And she reminds him that she swore an oath to keep him safe. And I have a little passage I want to read here. The steel links parted like silk. A sword, Brienne begged, and there it was, scabbard, belt, and all. She buckled it around her thick waist. The light was so dim that Jaime could scarcely see her, though they stood a scant few feet apart. In this light, she could almost be a beauty, he thought. In this light, she could almost be a knight. Brienne's sword took flame as well, burning silvery blue. The darkness retreated a little more. So many fandom things here.
Foundational fandom things.
Yeah. And like names of people, right? Like I recognize like handles people have taken from this chapter. Cersei, before she leaves, tells him that when the flames on the swords die, he dies too. And he begs her to stay and she leaves, which again, I think highly significant.
It is highly significant. And let's just say right now, I mean, because again, Game of Thrones has so much to answer for as concerns Jaime and Brienne's relationship and Jaime and Cersei's relationship. But this is very obviously foreshadowing the breakup that Jaime and Cersei are going to start to have in a couple of chapters. That breakup begins the minute that Jaime gets back to King's Landing, and it is a real breakup that I don't think they ever recover from. I'm saying it now.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I went through and I lost my place in my notes. He and Dream Brienne, like they're moving forward, and she wonders what's in the darkness, and he says only doom. And then this gets interesting because dream logic is always fascinating to me. But they hear and then they see two riders on I don't know how you pronounce it, but destriers. I looked it up. They are war horses, and they are massive. And like they, war horses are not small little ponies, right?
Yeah, I think they're precursors to draft horses.
Yeah, so they see two riders, and then they see five, and he recognizes them as his former, now dead brothers from the King's Guard. Like there's Arthur Dane, there's Gerald Went. He also sees Rhaegar. He offers to fight them all, and they bring up what happened, what he allowed to happen in a way to Elia and her children. And then, of course, they talk about Eris, and he mentions his oath to the king, or they mention his oath to the king. And at this point, he notices the flames on his sword are starting to die, and he starts screaming, no, and then he wakes up. And this is when he wakes up, he notices that the stump is the white wood.
And we have just a maybe a good point to start in on some of the mail that gets further in the chapter. Almost a prayer from Discord had basically her questions are: has your interpretation of the dream changed since you last covered the chapter? And can you do an in-depth analysis of it? Unless it's too redundant, I'm just tired of the dream being so slept on in the general fandom. So I thought that would be before we start the discussion.
Right.
I mean, some of it seems like, some of it you could break down to pure Jaime's sort of internalized, did I do this wrong? I didn't save a lot. It seems like things that could just be his own psyche, but definitely with that weirwood, and definitely like it's just feels brimming with, prophecy.
Yeah, well, so okay, let me just say, I did kind of listen to the more recent reread that we did in 2019, but I wasn't paying like really close attention to what I was saying. I'm sorry, probably repeating myself with everything. I will just say, no, I don't think generally that anything about my interpretation of the dream has changed. I very strongly, perhaps more than ever, believe that this is a weirwood dream sent by someone. I do think that this is Bloodraven. There are just some things here that I don't know why Jaime would know. Like, there's an echo with the way that that Arthur Dane talks here that is an echo of what Ned remembers from the Tower of Joy. And how would Jaime know that? He wouldn't.
Right, he wasn't there.
So he wasn't there, and he's never talked to anybody, as far as we know, that was there about it. So I firmly believe that this is Bloodraven, or perhaps, I guess the other theory is future Bran. I don't know. I don't know which direction it is, but it's somebody through the weirwood who is sending this dream to Jaime. But there are two components of the dream, and there is the component which is essentially prophecy and intentional foreshadow, or however you want to put it, from Bloodraven, and then there is an element of it that Jaime brings to it as a person, like this fact that he always dreams of himself with his hand back, and the thoughts that he's having about Cersei and Brienne, like those are clearly Jaime's thoughts. Those are not being given to him by anyone.
There's stuff he's internalized, he's trying to make sense of and work through. Like the stuff he's never gotten over is like, clearly he feels the stuff that happened to Elia and the children. I mean, the incredibly complex thoughts he must have about, killing Eris. All these things I think he's working, internalizing his way through his feelings about Brienne, for that matter. I think he's coming to terms with some of that stuff, or, it may be stuff he doesn't allow himself to think about. Sometimes that's what dreams are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's the fact that he also, at first he thinks that it's Ned coming, and that's clearly just, Jaime's own feelings that he has about, still continues to have about the confrontation that he had with Ned. And then it turns out, oh, it's not Ned. There's so many things that Jaime brings. But at the same time, all of these guys come, these ghosts, like the way that they're described, I continue to believe it sounds like they are the others. That is how they're described. They sound like the others coming through the snow. And sure, he sees them as his brothers of the Kingsguard, but it's pretty obvious to me when he and Brienne are standing there with flaming swords, and the same terminology that's used to describe the others appearing to Sam is used here. And there's no reason to do that if it isn't coming directly from like a Bloodraven or something, and it isn't actually pure prophecy. And there are things that we know are prophecy that have happened, things like Tywin giving Jaime the sword. I mean, there's no reason for that to be here if it was not prophecy. So there definitely are, to me, two elements. It's Jaime having a dream, and it's also things being fed to him by someone through the weirwood.
And when she mentions the bear, like, was that something he just could have put together himself? Like, did they pass? Was there notation of the bear pit when they first went to Harrenhal, or is that her? Because she says a bear. There's a bear here.
I'm
is that
sure he
also?
knows. He knows
So maybe
there's a bear pit because he knows. He knows.
So it's like half and half, maybe prophecy, like him putting it together in his head before it even happens.
But it is.
They're gonna,
It is, but like prophecy, though. It's
we do get a physical description of the bear pit, and I don't remember if we get one in any kind of other. Yeah, so maybe there's an element there too.
I think Arya might have mentioned it, but yeah.
No, but does he? Not Arya, but does he remember it?
He doesn't. But it's obvious when he rides back to Harrenhal at the end of this chapter. He knows where she is. He knows there's a bear pit. It's not news to him that there's a bear pit. He knows exactly. As soon as he hears the sound and where it's coming from, he knows they have her in the bear pit. So, yeah, I mean, I think he might know, but it is to me, there's no reason for her to say dire wolves and bears and lions or whatever it is she says, cave lions, something like that. Yeah. There's no reason for her, there's no reason for that to be what Jaime would even produce for her to say. I think that is also probably, prophetic prophecy in some sense. Yeah.
Do we have anything more about the dream, or?
We've got
up until this point.
Yeah, I guess the only other one was, but I guess it was maybe sort of more things after the fact, like things about like what characters do you think know later about the parapet is another question about specifically about the pit, but I don't know if we want to talk about that after we the
Well,
scene.
let's go to the bear
Yeah.
pit because that's where
Yeah.
we're going. I do love, he wakes up and there's the commotion, that happens when people start screaming in the night. And after they kind of like, he's like, we have to go back to Heron Hall. And this is not a popular choice with the group at all. Uh, and Steel Shanks really does not want to go. And he basically threatened Steel Shanks saying like, look, if you don't do this, I'm going to tell my father that you were the one who chopped off my hand. But if we go around, I'll make sure you get a lot of money. And that's what they do.
I
So
just
they
want
get
to say, I had to take a
Go ahead.
really long road trip a couple of years ago. And if at the end of the first day of that road trip, someone had told me we were turning back and going back to the start, I would have gotten violent. I would have
I guess
Yeah, I
that
kind of
was,
felt that.
you were probably somewhere in like, civilization. You're not like in war torn Westeros where, this is
I don't
like
know.
there's so.
It was Wyoming in winter.
Oh,
But
there
yeah.
you go. Right. No, but I mean, like, yeah, I get it. I also took an epic road trip, and at one point we did have to turn around, and I was just like, oh my God, Uh, that should go in our description. All right. So they get to Heron Hall and they find Brienne in the bear pit. And she is in that pink dress they found from somewhere in the castle that Roose made her wear. And she has a sword, and Jaime notes she's not doing really well. And we do learn Bolton basically said, do whatever you want with her. And Jaime first tries to get Vargo to remove her from the bear pit, and Vargo basically threatens to take Jaime's other hand. And this is when Jaime realizes that the sword she's got, because she's not fighting at full like peak here, and he realizes the reason is they gave her a tourney sword. So I'm going to read this little bit. I'll pay her ransom, her bloody ransom, gold, sapphires, whatever you want. Pull her out of there. You want her? Go get her. So he did. I love that line.
I do too. This is written so well. George is really, really cooking here. One of my favorite like aspects of this section of this chapter is how Jaime just immediately thinks, oh, she's got a sword, she'll be fine. He just thinks she can handle killing a bear, no problem. Like he really has a lot more respect for her fighting ability now than especially at the beginning. But I just kind of love the progress from like his first chapter of this book where he's like, oh, I wonder if she can even use this stupid sword that she's wearing, to then, when he tries to fight her, clearly thinking it'll be easy, and then it isn't easy. And then at this point, like, he's like, oh, she can kill a bear, no problem. No big deal.
Right. It's so funny because it's not like, you'd think maybe another person would be like, oh, well, I really don't know if I want to risk my life jumping in. He's not thinking that. He's literally just thinking, oh, she could take care of the bear. But then as soon as he flat out realizes what's going on, then it's right in. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
split second.
Aren't her hands are tied, right? I mean, she got the sword, but she didn't have full.
No, her hands aren't tied. No, she's got her hands free, but yeah, she's got a tourney sword, which is
it just can't do
unlike the show. A tourney sword is not a wooden sword; it is a metal sword. It just is blunted, so it's blunted.
There's no
yeah.
And he grabs like because he jumps in the pit, and like the only thing he can find is the jawbone. Like that, like is decaying or whatever. There are maggots on it, and like he briefly wonders whose face he's holding, which I'm like, whoa. And they're trying to defend themselves, and luckily, Steel Shanks Walton there, I love that name. He has his men come to their rescue, and they shoot the bear dead.
Well, Jaime very wisely, like Jaime and Brienne have this moment of get behind me, you get behind me. Like they're both trying to protect the other one. Jaime understands that he needs to stay in front of. It's like getting between her and a gunman. If he's the first line that the bear is coming after, then he understands that Steel Shanks won't let him die.
Right.
Especially now that we've established the money thing, and that Tywin will be none too happy if his son is killed. But they get pulled out. And Vargo is not at all happy.
So wait a minute.
Go ahead,
comma,
go ahead.
You're missing a shippy part here, a very shippy incident, which is where Jaime helps her up because he had kicked her down into the sand and stood up with her.
Yeah, you're right.
After the bear is dead, he turns around to help her up, and like he's, obviously Vargo and Steelshanks are kind of negotiating things above him, and Jaime, basically asks her if she's still a maiden, because obviously this has clearly been eating at him.
Excuse me, I have that part.
Oh, you were going to get to okay, go ahead.
This is my second favorite line in this. Actually, I love this even more than the go get her, and he did. So Walton says to Vargo, "We're taking the wench," and Jaime goes, "Her name is Brienne," Jaime said. "Brienne, the maid of Tarth." He turns to Brienne. "You are still maiden, I hope." Her broad, homely face turned red. "Yes." "Oh, good," Jaime said. "I only rescue maidens." I love that.
Oh God,
so much.
this is how we know this has been eating at him since stupid Qyburn said whatever he said. He has not forgotten this junk, and he's been worried about it the whole time. And
it's his lighthearted way. Yeah, he has to make a joke out of why he cares about whether she's essentially been raped or not, but he wants to know, you know what I mean, if she's been harmed, but he has to make it in his, oh gosh.
Yeah. He has to know.
And then I think my third favorite, there's so many lines in this chapter that I really love. They're making their way out, and Brienne asks why he came back, and he says simply, "I dreamed of you."
Yeah.
I love this.
And okay, so we've got kind of like we've got a lot of like I'm trying to go through our questions here that are like chock full of like interesting. Let me find the one where we specifically they said, and who is, let me see. Okay. This is from I Dream of Spring from Discord, and it's, "What is more romantic for you? I dreamed of you, or so he did? Also, kudos to George. When I read lines like these, so simple and yet so full of feeling and meaning and just so memorable, I really can only thank him for writing A Song of Ice and Fire. He's just so good at POV writing, and whether he ever publishes wins or not, I'm so grateful to him for what he has written." I think for me, it's I dreamed of you, I think, for me. So he did is close, but I think that's a little slightly more.
Of the two, I think I like So He Did. I just like that moment. Like, he's like, that determination. Like, something has snapped into place for him. He's going to get out of it.
I like So He Did because he does not have any thoughts. It's just action.
Subconscious, yep.
It's just like just an immediate, well, there's no even thinking that he has no choice. It's just acting that he has no choice. And I love that.
Yeah. I just think this is the point where I just realized this is it. I mean, I knew other things, but like for me, it was like, okay.
This is just like the most romantic shit. And if Jaime was not still calling Brienne ugly every other sentence,
right,
you would never for a minute think this was anything but incredibly romantic.
And how could anyone
what's going on?
I think that's my biggest thing from the reread of this chapter. And I don't know, it's so hard for me because I always feel like I'm so biased, but I really truly have not read this chapter in a very long time. And it just hit me. I'm like, why does this feel, I don't know if it just still resonates. I don't know if it's just still, it feels different than, there's like a vitality. There's like how could anyone read this? And being a James, and just everything is so pointing to, this is something you do for someone. It's so immense, and you do this for someone you love. This is not just like, oh, I came across another character and I think this is so different than so many other interactions we've had in A Song of Ice and Fire that I just don't understand people who don't. It's like pretty slapping you in the face with it.
I really think it's because she's not pretty. I think if she were presented as an ugly duckling that was going to get a makeover, I think if she was presented as unconventionally attractive or something, people would get it and they'd be all over it. But she's described by multiple people as ugly, and I don't think most people can get past that. And I don't get it.
Yeah.
But, well, here's to me the thing that is kind of the kicker where people don't understand that this is clear evidence that he has feelings. And that is that when Cersei asks him to come save her when she needs someone to do trial by combat, there are people who will erroneously to me say, "Oh, he was scared. You know, he knew he couldn't win, so he wasn't going to go try to be her champion or
But
something like that." It's like
he's
this man has no
well,
weapons and only one hand, and he jumps
well,
in a
he
bear
is,
pit
It's like that
right
meme,
now.
like you
Wait.
almost have it. You almost have it. You're almost connecting the dots.
Yes.
Well, and let's not forget. Okay, when that happens, he's like got his prosthetic or whatever, his golden hand. He's been like fever free. He's been training with the other hand. Here he is literally fighting off sepsis. He's like having a fever every night. You know, he's got to be gross and dirty, all this stuff, right? And like dealing with the trauma of just having lost his hand. And without hesitation, he jumps into that pit.
It's such a good point because he's every excuse not to. Whereas with Cersei, there's all these reasons he could just go and he doesn't. Oh my god, it's so true.
Yeah, it's so obvious that it's just, and I'm going to use the following terms: when he cares enough,
Yeah,
it doesn't
right.
really matter what the circumstances. He'll
That's how it
be
is.
there.
Well,
He'll
and
turn around
he
and
doesn't
ride
even
back
have
all
a
day.
he doesn't even have like a tourney sword or a sword, which presumably they would let him take into a trial by
Just
combat.
nothing.
No, he is holding onto a piece of a person's face. That is all his weapon, right?
Even after the fact, he acknowledges when Steelshanks makes the comment about, "Oh, why would you think of going in there with jumping into a bear pit with your bare hands?" He's like, "No, one hand, one bare hand, and one stump." So he like after the fact, like he acknowledges he's not even like he's so low on the bar of like someone who could go in there. Oh my god.
Well, and I think Brienne later describes this as he jumped in empty-handed. I mean, like, you know, and this is just all true. I mean, so, you know, anytime you hear people saying, "Oh, you know, he loves Cersei more than Brienne" or something, I'm just like, we've got pretty ample evidence. There's an A/B test here. You can see the side by side of what happens.
And there's a couple of I guess comments with questions intertwined in them. Like one kind of fed off the other, so I guess I could start it on those. It's kind of, I guess, what you said about it jogged my memory about that would fit with this when we talk about how Brienne thinks about this. So okay, so I'll get into long jumping. Kale 6071 from Reddit says, I listened to Not a Podcast, and one of the many interesting things they pointed out is how Jaime, like the Beauty in of Beauty and the Beast, came back to the Beast after having a dream vision of Beast dying. It's not really exactly the same situation as Jaime kind of dreams of his own death, his light going off, not Brienne's, which is super interesting. And I'm curious which other plot points from the tale George will use and how, as both Jaime and Brienne are Beauty and the Beast interchangeably. And this is kind of leading into getting there eventually, but I guess if we want to go over it by piece, we can start with this one. So, I don't know. So they're talking the show. They're talking about Beauty and the Beast, the show.
They
Or
must be.
is that
I don't know. It's funny.
It's
I've
been so many
never
years since I've seen
heard.
that.
I think generally in Jaime and Brienne fandom, when people kind of analyze Jaime and Brienne in the context of Beauty and the Beast, let me just stop and say, George has explicitly told Gwendolyn Christie that yes, Jaime and Brienne are a gender bent retelling of Beauty and the Beast to him. You know, role swapped, but he considers them to be that. I think most of us think that the return to the Beast is what happens in Dance when Brienne goes and gets him at Pennytree.
Mhm.
But I guess that's an interesting way of looking at it. I don't know if in every version it is a dream. Is it? Every version of Beauty and the Beast? I don't know if it is always a dream.
Yeah.
Well,
I think.
I'm not as familiar with that. I mean, I've read it, but it's been a long
I've
time.
seen the really old one, and again, it's been a long time. That one, the French version, that was really
Yeah,
beautifully
which
done.
Belle and
the
the
Jean
Jean
Cocteau
Cocteau,
one.
Yeah, that
which
was
is
really
a
nice.
beautiful movie, and I
that
recommend
that
it.
might have a dream. That might be a dream. I really don't remember, but I don't know if the actual fairy tale it's that. Anyway, regardless, I don't. That's an interesting take. I guess that's one way to maybe think about it. Although Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that.
And next is what was your favorite thing that happened in this chapter and quote and why? Just said, might have been talked about in other episodes, but why not again? Gosh, there's just so much. I mean, I don't know. My favorite thing is just kind of like I said, the vitality of like, I don't know. It just feels so it's just very exciting. It's very there's always I don't know, it's not
Yeah.
just their story, but something about it is special to me. And I think that's why I love those
Well,
chapters. And it's just whole
it's very evocative of the old Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland,
right, right.
films of the 30s, the Robin Hood, all those things. It
Yeah.
has that
Swashbucklers.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
exactly. And that's the genre I like. I like the quips. It's like I love The Princess Bride because it evokes
Mhm.
that, right? So
Mhm.
it's all
Very
there. I
classic.
like, there's so much here going on. And it's just we've been slogging our way through a dance with I'm sorry,
A Dance
dance.
with Dragons. Yeah.
Yes, and I that has not been this experience. This was like, oh, this is what it's my favorite book for a reason, or of the series, I should say. But
Yeah. Yeah. And that's funny that you mentioned A Princess Bride because have you guys heard that Cary Elwes is who George had in mind when he was writing Jamie? Cary Elwes, who is
oh, I love
Wesley
that.
That's
in
cool.
in
No,
A
I hadn't
Princess
heard
Bride.
that. That's really
And
cool.
I'm sure that is how George knew him too, is from A Princess Bride. Um, yeah,
As opposed to Saw or whatever.
I think my favorite part is probably the dream. I love the dream. I love when Brienne gets there. I love the the conflict that is just so well written within Jamie when Cersei is leaving and he has this urge to follow Cersei, and yet also at the same time he's ashamed of it. He doesn't want Brienne to see like his erection as he thinks about following
Right.
Cersei, and the way that he is seeing Brienne when he thinks of her as, she could almost be a beauty, she could almost be a knight. And then there's another moment where he's looking at her reflection in the water and he thinks she has more of a woman's shape. Like
Yeah.
just these little things where it's just like he's dreaming. And so it's just like he just does not have as much control over how he's thinking about her as he does clearly when he's conscious. And so it's almost like you're peeling back one of those layers finally and getting just a glimpse of
Yes.
how he actually feels and thinks about her. And I love that aspect of
Yes.
the dream. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
probably my very favorite part, although this whole chapter is just premium content.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels so
I just
honest.
love all the vitality, like we
Yeah.
were saying. It just really works for me.
And they said that theirs was definitely the you want her, go get her, so he did. And Jamie leaping into the bear put unarmed, like without a proper plan. Because they're pointing out that he could have just, told Steel Shanks to shoot the bear or something, but his first instinct was to place himself in danger to save someone else. And they go on to say the scene is also quite important in later chapters. Feast, Jamie revisits a bear pit where he finds Ronnet, and Brienne mentions it to the elder brother, how she remembers the sound of the boots hitting the sand along those lines. So Feast kind of highlights the scene again. Do you think the bear pit scene will play some role in Wins, like that one theory where Cersei finds out about it through Ronnet/Qyburn?
Oh, yeah, does Cersei probably has heard about it because if Ronnet has heard about it, it's
I'm sure
clearly
it's been shared.
going around. I mean, when you
Yeah.
think about the fact that I don't like to make comparisons between our world and Westeros, but obviously, George intentionally writes Westeros as having kind of medieval type
Right.
modes of
Parallels.
communication, but you parallels. And so even if you consider the Raven networks, the fact that the news of this could have traveled so far and so fast that like Ronnet knows about it and
Right.
wants to go see what happened and has heard already the rumors have changed so much that like he thought that Brienne was naked when she fought the bear. That's what Red Ronnet tells Jamie. Is it
Mhm.
true she was naked? So it's like it's like this is a big story. It's a big rumor. It's probably going to be one of those legendary things. Like
Okay,
this
so
is this is going to be
that
bigger
It's
than that.
not. It's the kind of thing. It's not like two guys sat around a table and plotted strategy. No, it's a
No.
very exciting thing. It's meant for this.
Yeah, and so anyway, the fact that Ronnet has heard about it so quickly after it actually happened, which that's pretty quick turnaround, few months, in a medieval world, it's kind of telling of how big the story is. There's a chance that Cersei has heard about it. Now, whether it
Right.
would play any role in wins as far as Cersei, I doubt it. I mean, I think there's a reason that Cersei has a reaction when she hears that it's Brienne that Jaime supposedly went off with. Probably underpinning that is that she has heard a little bit about the two of them together, I would imagine.
Okay, and that's what
Well,
Iruna on Tumblr had asked that. Has Qyburn told Cersei you think she's heard about it? And also, like, what characters do you think know about the Bear Pit? So that kind of covers that.
Everybody.
this
Everybody
whole
knows.
chapter has echoes of Jaime, like his glory days, and all of these people who Kia, the people at the inn who were going to comp him because he's this famous guy who came to their this is the kind of thing, this is what legends are made out of.
Yes.
Exactly. And there's something so rich about the fact, to me, because we've talked several times about how Jaime's very much feared as a battle commander, but anytime we try to figure out what battles he's actually won before the War of the Five Kings, none of us can tell because it's just not in the series. George doesn't talk about and whatever his victories may have been. And it's so funny that of all of his, like fighting prowess or whatever that's legendary, this is probably the thing that he will be most known for after he's dead. And he does this with only one, without his sword hand. It's actually, handless Jaime who probably has done the most heroic thing and the thing he'll be most known for. And that there's something kind of rich and, I mean, almost funny about that as well.
And there's also another it's part of their question, like a 3-part question, but Barbecue on Reddit also said, like, we know Cersei never believed the rumors about Jaime saving Brienne, as they're saying as far as they can recall, but how about the other Lannisters? What do you think there would be reactions after hearing about this? Like, about, I guess, maybe like Tyrion.
I don't know that we ever hear that Cersei doesn't believe anything about Jaime and Brienne. I think
so that's
the only time we ever hear Cersei think about Brienne is in Dance after Jaime has left Pennytree with Brienne is the only time.
Because wasn't it something
Brienne.
like surely she never? I think it was something she said in her head, like surely he would never run off with that. Is that maybe
that
what
might
they're
have been?
thinking?
That might have been from the show. They might be thinking of the show, mixing the show and the books there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I don't think she does.
Isn't there a part in the books though where she thinks like, oh, he wouldn't have run off with her though? Wasn't there a rumor that he ran off with her?
Yeah, that's the same spot. That's the spot. That is the spot.
Okay.
It's all the same spot. That is the only time she ever thinks about Brienne that I know about.
But it wasn't about like him saving her specifically. Yeah.
Well, and she is she's a character who's so focused on the physical. Like, I can't, she's wildly jealous of all sorts of things, but this seems like, it's not like Brienne is, just needs a makeover and would be, I don't see her immediately thinking that's a threat.
And from We're It on Reddit, and this was kind of jumping off what Long Jumping Kale had said. They said, so because of what they said, and thank you in parentheses to them, I checked on a search of A Song of Ice and Fire how Brienne remembers the Bear Pit moment in A Feast for Crows using Bear and Harrenhal. Before this search, I would have said that it was Jaime's confession in the bath that redefined Jaime for her from the Kingslayer to Sir Jaime, the honorable knight who did the right thing and was trashed for it. But now I'm not that sure. She remembers the Bear Pit 3 times, each time associated with the memory of a rape threat. In Brienne 6, she tells everything to the elder brother, and it's Jaime crying sapphires, Jaime in the tub at Harrenhal with steam rising from his body, the taste of Vargo Hoat's blood when she bit down his ear, the Bear Pit, Jaime leaping down into the sand. So it's the rape attempt he protected her from, but also the one she fought alone. And in Brienne 7, she dreams she's in the Bear Pit with Biter and dead people, and she calls for Jaime, who doesn't come, and it's totally heartbreaking. What Biter's doing in this nightmare shows she's thinking about rape, even if it's not totally explicit. And then another point she makes is in Brienne 8, when she pleads about him with Lady Stoneheart, she says, he saved me from being raped when the bloody mummers took us, and later he came back for me. He leapt into the Bear Pit empty-handed. She remembers Harrenhal in conjunction with Jaime 4 times. Twice it's his body, and twice it's the fact that he gave her a shield. and that's the twice it's twice it's the bath. She remembers how Jaime's confession and his body, and Jaime walking through the mist naked. When she says, naked at his name day, half a corpse, half a god. And then twice it's about his shield, the heavy oaken shield Jaime had given her, and then she noticed she loves the shield because he bared it. They're both so romantic. That's her comment on there. Exclamation point. So it seems that while talking a lot about Sansa as Jaime's last chance of honor, what she really remembers that he was her protector, the knight without shining armor nor weapon who jumped, leapt, and landed in the bear pit to save her from a bear and from rapists. What do you make of all this? And seriously, how can we not be obsessed by that? I guess about Bran's thoughts about all this.
Obviously, we are 12 years into podcasting about these two.
Yeah.
3 times with this chapter. 3 times. At least.
3 times.
No, wait. We didn't
So
we
obsessed.
do
We're all-
an episode specifically about the Werewood Dream?
Yeah, I think we
So maybe
did do
this
a
is
Werewood
4
Dream
times.
episode.
Right,
Yeah, so many
right.
times.
It's so many times I felt like I was on one and I wasn't about the bear pit.
Because it comes up all the time. I mean, we've done so many Q&A episodes where people ask about the dream and the bear pit and stuff. We've talked about all of this 1,000 times. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe what we're at is asking here is, what is Brienne thinking at this moment in time? And I would kill to really know. It is so funny what she does remember. What we hear her remember when we get to Feast, and how like we talk about Jaime's bathhouse confession so much, and really Brienne just remembers being horny for Jaime. That's really all she thinks about that time. And the same thing with the bear pit. I mean, she's just thinking about how, like, the thing that she says about, what is it, his feet landing on the sand, the sound of Jaime's feet hitting the sand in the bear pit, I think is what she says, which is also a very kind of poetic thought. But yeah, she does think of him as her protector. That is why she dreams of him that way. It's more than once that she calls out for him in her dreams. And it's often when he's like rejecting her or turning away from her, because she kind of keeps having those fears about rejection. But the thing that I think about her thinking at this point in time is, I kind of keep in mind that she's still not sure about Jaime. I think when she asks him later, why did you come back? And he says, I dreamed of you. I think she really doesn't understand why he's doing these things. And you kind of see that when we get to the Oathkeeper scene later in this book, at the end of the story for them in this book. She just is not sure. She can't believe, I think, that Jaime actually really is the person that he is presenting to her that he is. And I think you kind of see a little bit of that here, where it's like the way she's like Kingslayer when he lands in their bear pit, like she just can't believe that he's there. Like she just can't conceive of him as this guy who would come and rescue her. But also there's an element with Brienne of nobody ever comes and saves her. She's the one who saves other people. She shows up for other people. No one shows up for Brienne. Jaime's really the only one we've seen do that in the books. And so yes, I think that she does think of him as her protector, and I think she fears him not being there to protect her. In fact, so oh God, you guys, I'm so happy to be talking about them again. It's been so long. I forgot how much I love them.
Well, especially like I said, I sat down because behind the scenes we usually record 3 of these at a time, and I'm reading the Tyrion chapter going, oh God, it's just sort of like, it's so nice to get back to the stuff that made me love this series so much.
There's just something so special about them. I mean, I just I don't know. I was like, we could tie this in barbecue, Reddit, her others, even after all these years. What's still your favorite thing about this whole chapter? And like, I don't know. I think there's a specialness to this chapter. I'd say most of the Jaime Brand chapters, like, I have a strong bias, but I don't know. I've been open-minded rereading, like I have, because I haven't read these chapters in a long time. I've been rereading the other ones, and there's ones that we've done before that I don't, but I'm rereading the ones we have to read. I'm like, oh, I really like this on second read. I really like, I don't know, man. It's just a totally different, like, rereading this has been hitting me different than rereading Theon, so I don't know. Maybe it just, it's our,
it's like,
it resonates with
it's
our
sort of like,
obsession, or it feels different to me. It feels
It's like
It's a really
reconnecting
strong
with an old
chapter.
friend,
Yes.
like somebody you haven't seen in a long time, and you forgot how much fun you had with them, and
They're
it's like,
just so
oh,
cute.
you know,
It's
yeah,
good because it's like there's something I feel like there's something there as much as it sucks. I don't know, some of the other chapters are sometimes they're just so fucking oppressive. Like, there's just no it feels like there's no hope, and there's just something about
Yeah.
these chapters that gives you hope.
yeah.
Oh, and I don't know, is, this is another cute one. Not sure if you've seen A Knight's Tale. This was also Barbecue, but they use modern songs as, um, OSTs. If you had to pick, what song would you set that scene to? The bear pit scene.
The bear pit.
Yeah,
Oh
like a modern
God.
There's so many Jamie Brienne songs, it's hard to pick one for the bear pit. I feel
Oh
like there's
my
so many
God.
that
I don't know.
We've got to get out of this place. I don't know.
Okay, one that hit for me, I was listening to a lot of
Everybody was kung fu fighting. I don't know. It's
like
like,
Halo. It's okay. I don't know if it's too on the nose and too cheesy, but Halo by Beyonce, I would love to like do an edit of that because
Oh.
it just fucking fits. I'm sorry, and for both of them actually. I feel like it's it could be like vice versa. They could both use it. And there's a nice cover by somebody else. It's like Lade Kestner. That's a little slower and softer, but I feel like either one I could do an edit to on Bear Pit. But it's hard. It's a hard one to like because I feel like I have all these other songs I could do for other scenes. You know, the Sword Tower. And
God, I've never thought of a song for this. I've honestly never thought. I don't know. I'm probably going to just say something prosaic, like "We Are the Champions" by Queen or something like that. I don't know.
Everything I do for love. What is that song from? Wasn't that from like Robin Hood? Everything I
Oh
do.
yeah, Brian Adams. Brian Adams.
this is the kind of honestly, this is the kind of thing where you get one of those old school Hollywood guys, like the films from like
Oh,
I said, the
right.
Robin
They
Hood,
get to it.
whatever. It's
Like,
sort of like, yeah, like an Eric Korngold or whatever. I mean, I think it would be amazing.
now I want a Jamie and Brienne movie in a classic style. Like with,
Oh
with like the
God.
camp and the corniness and everything.
It could be its own movie
Oh
too.
God, it could.
It could lift out, yeah,
Oh,
very
Beautiful
easily.
Disaster is another good. Mika, Beautiful Disaster, but that might be for more their ending, whatever the Jamie Brent's ending is. I can think of all these
Oh
songs for
no.
them.
Oh
Like there's so many
no.
songs. What Oh
Is
god.
is that our mail?
I think let me just do one more quick did we get everything? Okay, go back up. Yeah, think I hope hopefully I think I did read them all. I'm looking at it. It looks like I've read every single.
Well, if you would like to tell us what song should play during the barefoot scene, or to tell us what you think about this episode, or send us a message or question, you can do so at close the door and come here .tumblr.com. You can email us at close the door and at gmail.com. You can also message us at close the door and on Blue Sky Social. It's been a long time since we've gotten an Apple review, so that would be nice if you could do that. But wherever you find us, please like and review us. It helps new people find the podcast. We would like to thank our Patreons for keeping the lights on for us. If you would like to become one, you can go to patreon.com/close the door. And with that, closing the door. Get out.